morning, everyone. Welcome to the Winnipeg Jets Postgame Show presented by Budweiser. I'm Sara Orlesky, joined by Mitchell Clinton. If you watch us regularly, you'll know that this is obviously not where we're usually located.
Bad time to find out I'm afraid of heights.
It is not. You know what? We're doing a lot of renovations that are going to be happening here at Canada Life Center, which is very exciting, but that does mean that they have relocated us for the time being. So we do have a good vantage point up here, as long as you aren't afraid of heights.
I'll hang on to the desk.
There you go. Don't worry. I got your back for this one. So let's talk about this game. The Winnipeg Jets obviously just finishing up their game here, their first game back after their longest road trip of the season. They fall short in this one. 3-2 is the final in favor of the Buffalo Sabres. But let me tell you, Mitch, I mean, when you talk about this game and we look back on it, if you just look at the score, you would say, oh, the Winnipeg Jets were close. This was obviously, they were just lost this game by 1. But this was a game that the Jets will not be happy with, and this was a game that the Buffalo Sabres dominated.
Yeah, and I mean, this was one of those matchups where you look back at that stretch of 8 road games in 9 games that they just came off of, and the Buffalo Sabre game was one that they didn't really like a whole lot. You know, they said, we're going to be better, and you know, this is a fast, skilled team that you can't take lightly. They came in here on 4 straight wins, well, now they got 5, and it's another effort that I don't think the Winnipeg Jets are going to be happy with, you know, especially when it comes down to getting pucks on net and everything. Now the Jets, they were down 3-0. They were able to get a couple of goals late in the third. Had a bit of a push to try to get back on even footing. This is with just under 5 minutes to go. Nate Schmidt's going to get one on the power play here. And you can just tell, like, yeah, they scored, but they know that, you know, we got more work to do here. And then in the final minute, they're able to get a little bit closer. Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to be the one that finishes this one off, getting this one past Eric Comrie, who comes in and picks up the win for the Buffalo Sabres. But you know, after that, you know, they had about one more shot from the point that got deflected, but wide of the net. And ultimately, I think the Winnipeg Jets are going to look back on a number of things tonight. But tough to come back off of a road trip, come in and not play the way that you would have liked in front of your home fans. No,
of course not. And they had come in, they had won 5 straight at home coming into this game for it. We are waiting, we're expecting to hear from Morgan Barron, who's going to join shortly for it. And then, of course, we're also going to take you into the room and hear from players as well as head coach Rick Bowness. And Rick Bowness was very animated on the bench tonight. There was no secret that he was not happy with the way that his group was playing. And it was a number of things. You know, when we spoke to them, the players this morning, you heard them say all the right things. We know that coming back from a long road trip, that historically, when you look at it, it's a game in which it can be slow moving. It can take a bit for them to get their feet. But it was just, they knew the way that Buffalo plays, having just seen them recently. You know what you need to do to have success, and they were not able to get it. Brendan Dillon in the second intermission, speaking to John Liu at TSN, said that it might have been one of the ugliest 10 or 15 minute stretches that they had. They were outshot 28-11 through 2 periods. And although they finished with 21 shots on this one, for the long stretch of it, I thought that they might finish with only 15 shots on the game.
Yeah, and it was 15-46 was the total amount that they went without a shot in the second period. And part of that is, you know, they passed up some shots on some rushes, which Rick Bowness doesn't like. But the other thing that he doesn't like, and I mean, the players don't like it either, but the other thing he doesn't like is those shots not getting on net. They had a number of shots tonight, the Winnipeg Jets did, that missed on the far side. And you talk to any forward or any defenseman, whoever it may be, when you're coming down on the rush or have any sort of rush chance and you miss on the far side, that puck comes around those boards so quickly that it is basically starting a breakout for the opposition. And that happened on a number of occasions. And then, you know, the one that's going to stand out to me, the game's still 0-0. They come down on a 3-on-1 and they don't get this is the exact play. They just don't get a shot out of that. And then all of a sudden, you know, it comes back the other way. Buffalo's able to get on the board to make it 1-0, and then it was an uphill climb from there.
Yeah, it certainly was. And we saw the speed of the Sabres were certainly on display as well. Okay, we're going to continue talking about this game in a bit, but let's head into the Jets dressing room and hear from Nate Schmidt.
We didn't really get out of our zone very well tonight. I just don't think we had a lot of times where we had the puck on our stick and making the play to get out of the zone. Just a lot of times where we just we weren't confident with it.
In a strange way, doesn't that make it's not an effort thing? Because if you have to go back and defend, you're working harder, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, our effort wasn't that. It was, you know, I think it was just, you know, playing smart and being confident with the puck when we have it. You know, I just thought that in situations we were just throwing it away, and guys, you know, we just didn't have a lot of confidence as the game went on with the puck in our zone, and then we ended up giving them a lot of chances, and then they started circling around and they've got a good offensive team, and you're going to give them the time and space, and we back off. It just gives them lots of time to do what they want to do with it.
Okay, we'll hear more from Nate Schmidt. We'll go back and hear more from him in just a bit, but told that we do have Morgan Barron ready to join us now. And Morgan, obviously, I mean, the final score 3-2, but this was a game in which the Buffalo Sabres really were able to dominate a lot of it. What was it that caused your group the most trouble tonight?
Yeah, well, first off, I mean, they're a good team. They're pushing hard for the playoffs right now. I don't think we managed the puck well enough. And especially with some of those guys, I mean, they have so much skill and speed that when you're not managing the puck like we were tonight, it's tough. You're defending a lot. You're chasing from behind, and I think that showed up on the scoreboard and in the shot clock tonight.
Not any excuses, obviously, but when you come off of a long road trip and you played 8 of 9 as well, I mean, how much can that impact a group in the first game back?
Yeah, to me, we had a day off at home yesterday. We had some time to get settled in, so. Every team goes through it. Every team plays on the road, and yes, it's been a busy schedule. But looking at it before tonight, we had 3 games to the break, and I think we need a lot better effort moving forward in these last 2. These are big games for us in the standings, so we got to find a way.
So, what would be for you the starting point when you look at the next game, looking into Saturday?
Just managing pucks. I think there were so many turnovers tonight. Myself included. I felt like it was up and down the lineup. Just not holding on to it maybe when we should be holding on to it, and then just not putting it in the right places when we did get rid of it. So there's going to be some video tomorrow, I'm sure, and we're going to have to learn from our mistakes. But trying to be a little optimistic here. I'd rather be making these mistakes this time of year than moving forward down the stretch and into the playoffs. So we'll have an opportunity to correct it and move forward.
Okay, well, always appreciate the time. Thanks so much for joining us, Morgan. Okay, so we hear Morgan speak about, a lot of it obviously self-inflicted, and the turnovers for it. There is undoubtedly going to be a lot of video that is shown, I'm sure, tomorrow, because this isn't something, as much as you can say that it is. It is just one game.
For sure.
But this isn't the type of game with the way that they played that you're going to want to just ignore and sweep under the rug.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, and I think because you're starting to see a couple of themes, and yes, Cole Perfetti and Pierre-Luc Dubois after the game in Nashville said, we're not using fatigue as an excuse. Morgan Barron said something very similar there. But you start to see some themes in terms of pucks to the net, shots on goal. You only get, you end up with 21 tonight. But like you said, they were hovering around close to 15 until that final surge where they, pulled Connor Hellebuyck, get a 6-on-4 for the power play, 6-on-5, etc. And then in Nashville, it's kind of a similar situation. You're not getting a lot of pucks to the net, and that's something that the Winnipeg Jets want to do. In the defensive zone, certainly you want to take care of the front of your net, but in the offensive zone, you want to create some chaos, create some traffic. The best way to do that, low to high play to the point, get pucks on net, create some chaos, get to some rebounds, and because the Winnipeg Jets do have some big bodies up front that can do a lot of good in front of the opposition's net. But when the puck's not getting there, if you're staying a little bit more perimeter and you're looking for that perfect seam pass, especially as the year goes on, you're not going to see that play available as often.
Yeah, and that idea of looking for the pretty pass, certainly we've seen it, whether it be tonight or at other times, sometimes get them into trouble. All right, let's head back into the room and hear from Nikolaj Ehlers.
Not so long ago, we knew that they're a good team. They got a lot of skill, a lot of speed. We didn't take that away from them, and gave them opportunities to turn it over and go the other way. So good push. It shows that even though we don't play well, we keep fighting. We have a goalie that gives us a chance to win every single game. Sometimes you don't deserve it, but he's pretty fantastic.
Is there something that? Sorry, John. Is there something that Buffalo does? When you guys are trying to get across your own blue line, that is leading to maybe so many of those turnovers tonight?
Well, of course, it's not. I can't sit here and say that it's all our fault. They're good at tracking back and creating turnovers, and we keep trying to fit pucks into the middle instead of chipping it and use our speed. So it's a mix, but it's something that we've talked about a lot, and it's something that's got to change.
We've seen you make plays that, and your line mates as well make plays that when they start, we don't know it's going to be a goal, but you do. But is there a sense on nights like tonight that there's a bit of overpassing going on in the offensive zone?
I don't understand the start of that question.
It was an awkward start to the question. I mean, so you make plays that we don't necessarily see, and just as a credit to your offensive skills and your vision and all of that. But on a night like tonight, was there a feeling that there was overpassing?
Yeah. When you start out trying to make those passes and they don't work and you continue to try and do that, it's not a good look. And that's when you got to start trying to play a little simple and like I said, chip pucks out, get them deep and skate. We were flat-footed a couple of times and they were able to turn it over. So luckily there's a game on Saturday where we can change things around and we got 25 guys in this room that are not okay with our performance tonight.
Nick, where would you describe your team's game as of late?
I don't know. Obviously not great, but I believe in this team. I believe we're a great team, and we got the tools, we got everything to get it right. It's just a mindset.
We hear so much about this time of year, it being a grind, and sometimes teams can lose motivation. I know you guys don't like to use excuses. Is that part of what we're seeing here?
No, there's no excuses. We got 2 games before the break now, and we got to finish off on the right note because we haven't been playing great, and we got to start winning some games.
Your coach and teammates have described the club as playing inconsistently over the last couple of weeks. What key elements of your game need to be better to recapture the consistency you want to see?
Simple game. I mean, simple game. It's easy to say, but it's simple game mindset. Work as a 5-man unit, 6-man unit every single time you get out there and work for your teammates. I'm not saying we're not working because everybody wants to win in here. Everybody is trying their best, but we need to make it more simple for ourselves and help each other out. And we know that, and we're going to change that for Saturday.
Well, Nikolaj Ehlers, amongst the many things that he spoke about, Connor Hellebuyck and the job that he did. Hellebuyck, 3rd star this evening. Tage Thompson, 2nd star. Jeff Skinner, 1st star. But Hellebuyck stopping 33 of the 36 shots that he faced for it. Mm-hmm. I mean, we know he's an all-star.
Yes.
We know how important he has been to this team as well. But again, I mean, he was the player out of this entire group, I would say, that certainly stood out because this score could have been much more lopsided.
And especially because you look over the course of this game, especially early on, I thought Hellebuyck looked like someone that just wasn't going to be beat on this night. Like you make a save like that on a deflection, like you'll see, goes down for a shot block, it kind of gets deflected a little bit, and his glove is just there. Like that is how positionally sound he was early on. And the game didn't get any easier for him. He goes post to post here. You look back at the first game against Buffalo, and it was similar. He made 39 saves to help them to a win. And I remember, Neil Pionk this morning basically saying, our goalie's an all-star, and he's the reason we won that game. And he was very nearly, the reason the Winnipeg Jets were able to stay into this one and almost tie it in the final minute, because if Connor Hellebuyck wasn't on his game as much as he was early on, who knows how things could have went. But he obviously has a lot of the respect in that room for what he brings every single game, and tonight was no different. Yeah,
having to deal with, we saw it on display, I mean, the speed and the skill of the Sabres, in the speed in particular, but they hold on to the puck. It just seemed like, face-offs were not, and I don't have it in front of me, but face-offs were not an area of strength for the Winnipeg Jets in this game at all. It was something that they struggled with. We hear Rick Bowness speak about the importance of winning the face-offs and being able to have that puck possession, that control of it. They didn't have it. Connor Hellebuyck, though, I mean, being key, obviously, for this group this evening. Let's take a look at the next two games. That was something we also heard Nikolaj speak about, because they have 2 games left before the All-Star and player break, in which they will have 11 days off, which you know that they're looking forward to. But the next 2 games before it, Philadelphia is in here. I mean, I feel like we just saw the Flyers, just like the Sabres. But Saturday, it's a 6 p.m. game. Don't forget about that. And then on Monday against the St. Louis Blues, for it, a 7 o'clock start. That obviously a Central Division matchup. And then we've got 2 Winnipeg Jets going off to the All-Star. A little bit of sunshine and perhaps a little bit of a break, doing everybody some good. But the challenge also, when you're looking at these games, I mean, similar to, you know, any sport that has a bye week, when we talk about the challenge of that final game before going into a bye week, you've got 2 games before an 11-day break. It has been such a hectic schedule for the Jets, especially lately. We always refer back to what December was like as well. Do you have to be cautious about not looking ahead too much and still taking care of business?
Certainly, and I mean, you look at the game like tonight, you know, you would think with the previous matchup that these 2 teams had that, you know, there would be an emphasis on it. Now, certainly it didn't necessarily work out how Winnipeg would have wanted tonight in terms of what they were able to put forth on the ice. So, of course, there's going to be, I think, an added little bit of emphasis on the Flyers game just to make sure that they bring their absolute best. And then of all the teams in the Central Division, the one team that seems to bring out the best in the Jets every single time is St. Louis. So I don't think you could have handpicked a better opponent for the Jets to have in their last game going into that break. And, you know, you're also starting to see, like, you know, throughout the season, we've seen, you know, Dallas, you know, having played more games than Winnipeg, and Winnipeg always having a game in hand. Well, now all of a sudden, with the schedule that the Winnipeg Jets have had through December and now through the majority of January, it's Dallas and Winnipeg that have played 50 games. And I believe Dallas is playing their 51st tonight. So, I mean, that's a lot of hockey. And, yeah, you got to push through these final 2. Philadelphia is going to have all of Winnipeg's attention, especially after the last game that those 2 teams played, and St. Louis always does too. So certainly 2 opponents that should have the Winnipeg Jets' attention. You add in how tonight went for them, and I think that's going to be all the focus they're going to need.
Well, it's coming off of a game like this, we haven't seen the Jets, even when they have had subsequent losses, and a few of them you've seen them at times have 3 losses in a row for it. But we haven't seen them often put up back-to-back performances, certainly like what we saw tonight. But let's head into the Matt Frost Media Center. It's time to hear from head coach Rick Bowness.
The worst thing you can do is what we did tonight, and just keep giving them the puck. Very bad puck management at both blue lines, and all you're doing then is feeding their transition, feeding their speed. So a lot of that is on us. We know their strengths. We know they're a fast team. They're a highly skilled team and can score. Yet we were very stubborn with our puck management.
So didn't have your legs, didn't have your best. Do you have any sense of why that would be?
I'm going to talk to a few of the guys tomorrow and get their feedback on why. Let's say, you know, I've got to talk to the players and see, okay, we had nothing going for at spurts. So I want them to explain to me what they're feeling.
Fair to say the lines are in flux over this last little while. What are you seeing, or do you feel that you're anywhere near landing on something that can stick around a little more consistency?
Well, you'd like to, and you certainly want to, but then you have nights like tonight where you've got nothing going, so you got to try to shake it up a little bit. So the ideal situation is to get the 3-4 lines and keep them going, which we've done the last couple of games, but we didn't score our last game. We had 1 goal. We've got to figure that out. But, so all of a sudden somebody's not playing well, you try something different just to spark some interest and some enthusiasm in them.
You mentioned kind of being stubborn about puck management at the blue lines. What do you mean by that?
Because they know when to make a better play than they're making. We're overhandling the puck at the blue line when there's nowhere to go, and sometimes you just have to take the puck and put it into an area and then you're going to play fast. When we're handling the puck at the blue lines like we are, we look very, very slow. We're trying to make plays that just might work 1 out of every 10 times. It's not good enough. So when you get to the blue lines, you have to make better decisions, and we have to have better support coming through so we can play faster. When you're turning the puck over the blue lines, you look and you look slow, and we would look very slow tonight.
When you turn pucks over the blue lines, then you have to defend more often.
Yeah.
I guess it's not an effort thing, right? Because you're making it harder on yourself. You have to work harder.
Just self-inflicted, like we talked about earlier. Yeah.
I wanted to ask as well about the Nate Schmidt minor. I mean, I thought there had to be a major called on a player.
Well, that's what Gord explained to me, that they called a major so they could review it. That's what they did. They called a 5-minute elbow, and then when it reviewed it, then they could reduce it. But they had to call a major so they could look at it and see exactly what happened. Then you get the minor.
And other than that, is there a sense that there's too many shot opportunities being passed off?
Yes.
Guys, right?
Yeah. I've been preaching about that all year. We're getting into the areas, and we're just passing up. So the goals are in. When we're shooting, we're scoring. And when our D are shooting, we're scoring. When we're getting in here looking for that extra play, we're not going to score. The other teams are too good. And the way that the league is defended now, with 5 guys back, you think you're going to pass your way through there. There's no chance. You've got to open them up. You've got to take the shots to create some scrambles. Then you got to get the puck back. But we're coming in and we're making far too many plays, and we're passing up way too many opportunities to shoot the puck.
What do you think goes into that from a player's perspective to make those decisions? So they just believe they can make that play, or what?
Yeah, stubbornness.
Rick, when you mentioned trying to spark enthusiasm, what are you witnessing that's provoking that feeling when you're talking about swapping or switching lines?
But those top 6 have all played together all year, right? When Nick was healthy and we had them all healthy, those all, to me, they're all interchangeable parts, and just to try to spark them up. They've played enough together, all 6 of them, in different looks. That like Lau's line stays the same, and the 4th line stays the same. So sometimes you move Nick around or you move Cole around. They've all been together, so that's probably it's not that big. It's not that big a deal.
What key elements of your game do you want to see over these next 2 games before the All-Star break to try to recapture an element of consistency?
Yeah, I think we'll get a lot more consistent with our play when we stop being so stubborn with the puck. We'll play a lot faster, and when you're playing fast, it's a lot more fun, and you'll be a lot more consistent. But we're slowing ourselves down and making it too easy for the opposition by our puck management, and a lot of it has to do at the blue lines, in between the blue lines, and our stubbornness not to shoot. So again, those things are self-inflicted now, and so that leads. So when you're going, then. And the puck is moving, you all look good. But then when you're not feeling it and you're still trying to make those same plays, that's where the inconsistencies come in. You're trying to make plays that when you can make when you're feeling it, but when you're not feeling it, you can't make those plays. You have to make higher percentage plays.
Coaching psychology question then, Rick. How do you get guys to get through or past that stubbornness?
We'll keep preaching it. That's our job as coaches. Be very specific with what the problem is, but then they have to buy in. They have to listen and stop being stubborn.
Sorry to come back for just last one. After that Christmas break, and you guys went on a nice little tear there, you had a lot of guys filling in for injuries, and it seemed like work ethic was getting you through. A lot of guys getting opportunities, taking advantage of that. Would it be fair to say your work ethic is not where it was when you came out of that Christmas break?
I would say our consistent compete has not been where it's been, so that's part work ethic. And again, we're just making the game too hard on ourselves. So, and it's too easy for the opposition. So it's not necessarily it comes down to a work ethic. It comes down to just making the game too hard on ourselves, and then having to defend way too much unnecessarily. There's a lot of unnecessary time in our zone, and now you're defending all the time instead of playing north. So those are the things we're going to keep preaching.
As expected,
Yep.
The truth serum from Rick Bowness, I mean, called a spade essentially for
Yep.
what he saw. I think that clearly, if you look at stubbornness was one we heard often in there, self-inflicted, which not taking anything away from what the Buffalo
Yeah.
Sabres obviously were able to do tonight, but a lot of self-inflicted wounds, and then puck management, which I think is obviously something that we heard players speak about as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's such a fine line, right? Like one of the things that we were talking about with Buffalo is, yeah, they're really fast, but they also can hang on to pucks. But yet, like Rick Bowness said, sometimes if you're not feeling it, or if the legs just aren't there, or just something's not clicking, sometimes hanging on to pucks gets you into trouble. So you want to play faster. You just want to get more pucks to the net. So there's a fine line because, man, you see whether it's with Buffalo or the Winnipeg Jets, there's some incredible offensive creativity that is there. And I mean, Ehlers and Scheifele and Wheeler showed that off a couple of times on the road trip, but sometimes it comes down to just getting pucks to the net. So it sounds like it's going to be a focus of the video session tomorrow and probably practice as well.
Yeah, you definitely want to make sure that you tune in to Winnipeg Jets website, social media.
Do that.
That's right. Everything is, we will have an eye and full wrap-up of practice tomorrow as well before that game on Saturday. Let's take a look, though, going forward. We always like to take a look at things that are going to be coming up with the Winnipeg Jets, and this will happen after the All-Star break, but it is going to be South Asian Heritage Night on February 11th against the Chicago Blackhawks, presented by Canada Life, as we celebrate local South Asian culture, specialty warm-up jerseys, in-game entertainment, South Asian food specials at concessions, special South Asian logo merchandise is going to be for sale at Jets Gear. You can see below. You want to go to winnipegjets.com/tickets. You do not want to miss out on it. I mean, there's been so many nights throughout this season already, when you look at it, that have been such a great way to celebrate the different cultures here within our community, and this will be another great night.
Yeah, exactly. They always are, game presentation team. I talked to the design, one of the girls that helped design that logo that the Winnipeg Jets are going to be wearing in warm-up jerseys. So she's really excited to see all of her work in the building. So you should be there too. 9 p.m. start though, so get a nap in. I'm going to get a nap in.
I forgot that it's a 9
get a
p.m.
nap
start.
That's key.
That's Mitch and I always joke about how during the bubble we would have an espresso machine that was set up so that on the late starts in here we could make ourselves. We might need to bring that back for the 9 p.m. start. Okay, so that is it for us tonight. Obviously 3-2, the final for it. Not the results or the performance that the Winnipeg Jets were hoping for, but they will look to bounce back on Saturday against the Philadelphia Flyers. You can catch the rest of that Nate Schmidt availability as well on the Winnipeg Jets website and social media channels. You will have a wrap-up as well to take a look back at this game. And, of course, make sure you stay tuned to all things Winnipeg Jets going forward as we continue to get you set up for the remainder of this homestand before the Winnipeg Jets go on the All-Star and player break. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. For Mitchell Clinton, I'm Sara Orlesky, and that is it for your Winnipeg Jets Postgame Show presented by Budweiser.